Morning everybody. This is then Programming Logic, Unit 1, Lesson 1, and we're going to have a look at string processing. Let's have a look at why string processing first. Let's take the subject code. It's an easy example. This subject code tells me quite a few things. First of all, the 1 says at which level the subject is given. First year, second year, third year, and so forth. The A says it's a subject from the Applied and Computer Sciences faculty. S indicates the department that's hosting the subject. PL is just a code for the subject itself. Y says it's a subject in the second semester. And A tells us a little bit about the content of the subject. Okay, so if the content of the subject changes dramatically, this code gets replaced. Okay, so all of that just from a subject code. So as programmers, we need to be able to extract data from codes, from words, from anything else. And that is then string processing. The first thing that we need to know is how we can extract data in a string. And take care, the characters in a string has got number positions, starting at, very importantly, 0. Okay? And we're going to find this 0 starting position quite often in programming. Okay? So as humans, we would count there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 characters. When we do programming, we actually say character 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? So really important. There's 7 characters in total in the string with the subject code. But when we start counting in programming, the first anything that we're going to find, so the first character in this case would be at position 0. So real important that you know that. Second thing that's really important is that programming works not just as a random thing. We are part of a bigger universe. So if I go Google string class MSDN, so the Microsoft documentation, guess what? Then I find there's quite a few things written regarding strings, and they talk about a string object. So we're going to learn about objects and classes later on. For now, you need to know the following. String, the definition of a string is already pre-given. So in programming, we're going to tell you there's a string class that somebody else coded, and that string class has got certain properties and it's got certain functionality, behavior. It can do things for us. Pretty much exactly the same as integer and double and all of the other data types. These are classes that's written already for us, and it makes our life a lot easier because we can now use some of the pre-written methods and functions and procedures. So if I go click on string methods, first thing I want you to make sure, we just go right to the top, we need to set the language. The .NET environment works with quite a few languages. Quite standard, the documentation is normally set to C#. We're interested in VB. Okay, so all of these methods are available for any of the languages that forms part of the .NET framework. VB is just one of them. So if I make sure that I've got VB selected, we can go and have a look at quite a few things, but the most important thing would be the different methods. And I'm going to have a look at that at a later stage in detail. For all that I want you to know right now is that there are many methods available that's going to assist us in our job as programmers. Let's look at some examples of things that we need to be able to do. So, first example, find a name when the user entered a full name. And we're now going to assume a full name will consist of a name, a space, and then the surname. So, how will I get the full name? I will need to find the space, and then everything before the space would be the name of the person. So if I look at something like just something short, Sumukwena, obviously the names will be different. I can have John Matlong as well. Hey? I can't just assume everybody's names would be the same length. So what's the common factor over there? There's going to be a space somewhere. This space separates the surname and the name. So as soon as we know where's the space, everything before the space would be the name, and everything after the space would be the surname. If I've got something like a code, we might need to get the first 3 characters of the string, or characters 5 and 6, because they tell us something. Same as character 1 over there tells me it's a first year subject. I might need to test that the string is 4 characters long, or in the case of the subject code, 7 characters. It's got to be 7 characters long. Test that an ID is 13 characters long. Telephone number, 10 characters exactly. We might need to extract the birth year from a South African ID. We know the format would be year, month, day, and then other characters. Or the birth month, the birth day from a South African ID. I might need to test that a telephone number that's entered contains only digits. I might need to change a telephone number from a local to an international number. The VUT switchboard, for example, 9509, I think 111. In a international format, that would be plus 27, because plus 27 is the code for South Africa. The 0 falls away, we'll have a 16, and then 950, 9000. Okay, so certain characters falls away, and we definitely need to put a space in between other characters. We need to maybe test that the string contains a specific character as the first character, or a specific character anywhere in the string, or that the string contains a 1, 2, or a 3, so that we know it's a valid undergraduate subject code, for example. So there's many different things that we need to be able to know and do with strings. These are only a few examples. So by the end of the section, you need to go and have a look. If you've got a string, can you do all of these? Okay, so after our short introduction of why we need strings, let's go find out which strings we actually have, which string methods. I googled string class methods in VB, and there's the official Microsoft documentation that we can go and access. And I also like the tutorials point in the W3 computing, the schools, string class definitions. So I'll put these 3 website links on the internet. Let's first go to the official documentation of the string class. So first of all, as I mentioned before, make sure that we're going to use the VB documentation. So the first thing that you do is to make sure that you see the VB documentation listed over there. If I can have a look at the descriptions and stuff that's given over here, then it's really for programmers. You won't be able to understand all of it yet. This part is important. You need to know about it. The namespace of the string class would be system. A namespace in the .NET environment works more or less like the surname that we've got for our humans. So a specific surname groups a set of humans together. They sort of form a cohesive pact, hey? They all belong to the same family if they share the same surname. Sort of the same over here. So the namespace of the string class is system. That means it's part of the basic system requirements that we've got. A string class then represents text. We can immediately jump to this part over here. String is a sequence of characters that represents text. So a sequential collection means first character, second character, third character. They're all in order, as we already know. The next important thing that they mention over here is that strings are immutable. We're going to talk about that also. And then you need to remember strings are zero based. The first character is character 0. Next, I'm going to click on the methods because that's what we're really interested in. Maybe first the properties. So if I go click on the properties and I've just quickly paused the video to enhance the size of the text. So there's one important property, length. A property is like a field and length is read only. I can only see how long is the string. I can't go change it because strings are immutable. They can't change. So the length property gives me the number of characters in the string. The length property is pretty much the same as the, let's say, text property of a text box. I can use textbox name.text to get the data. And the same over here with the length property. Next, I want to have a look at all the string operations per category. So the different things that we can do with the string. And although we're using the VB documentation, pretty much the same happens in the other languages. Java and Python, for example. So I can compare strings. That's the first part. I can compare if two strings are the same, so that the user enter a certain set of data correctly. If I want to check that against my database, maybe. I can test if they are equal, if two strings are exactly a match. So for example, if I want to test for a password, I can find characters in a string. So either I've got a certain method that returns a Boolean value, that's a true or a false. Yes, I found this, or no, I didn't find it. Or there are a few methods that gives me the starting position of a character or a few characters that I'm looking for. So these would be index of, last index of. We'll see how they work in a little while. Then I've got quite a few methods that can change a string. But now again, remember, strings are mutable. That means it's not the current string that's changed. A copy of the string is changed. So I've got the insert method to insert characters in the current instance. Pad left inserts characters on the left hand side. Pad right inserts characters on the right hand side. This is why if I want some alignment to be done. Remove will delete sections of a string. Replace will replace sections of a string. There's a to lower and a to upper. We don't really use the other two to convert all the characters in the string to lowercase or uppercase, for example. A trim method that removes all occurrences of a specific character at the beginning and end of the string. Trim end and trim start to remove stuff at the start or the end of the string. Split method we're going to have a look at as soon as we deal with arrays. And then I've got methods to combine the strings as well. And the format methods that will help me to change something to a specific time or date or whatever I need. That's a huge set of methods. We're not going to use all of them right at the start. We're merely going to introduce you to the most important ones that we need to use. Next, I'm going to click on methods to get the full set of methods. Go right to the start and all the different methods are listed. There's quite a few of them. We're actually going to only have a look at the most important ones. Okay, so herewith are the remove methods. There's two available. They're overloaded. Same name, different parameters. This int32 just means I can send an integer to the method. So there's one method that says I'm going to return a new string in which all the characters in the current string beginning at the specified position and continuing to the end have been deleted. So if I want to go and delete anything from a point to the end, I can use this method. And over here they give you the heading of this method exactly as it is. It's called remove. It's a public function. It gets an integer as a parameter and it's going to give me back a string. And it explains the parameter in more detail. The parameter must be 0 placed and it's the position to begin deleting characters. And this method will return a string. Exceptions you can ignore for now. And I've got a few examples over here as well. We can have a look at that a little bit later. If I go to tutorials point, sort of exactly the same, except this is now not the official VB documentation, but that gives us quite a good description. And we've got the W3 schools. Over here they only discuss the remove method that's got two parameters, a starting index and the number of characters to remove. Because this is then if I go back, the next method available. They say the next remove method, the overloaded one, returns a new string in which the specified number of characters in the current instance beginning at the specified position have been deleted. If I go click on this method, it takes me to the detailed description. I can see that the first parameter would be the starting index. The next one is called count, and it tells me count would be the number of characters to delete. Start index again, 0 based. Okay, I'm going to now next show you how the remove method works, and the rest of the methods follows pretty much the same sequence. If I go to, just remember now where, IDE 1. So this is maybe something that some of you can go have a look at. It's an online editor. I can set it for many different languages. So I can go and write VB or Java or R or Python code in it. So we can change it to VB. Only thing about this is that it is console based. So these programs are not the normal programs that you'd give to a user to use. They run from a command prompt, but they are the type of programs that I would prefer to code to learn new statements. It's really, really a lot better to learn new statements. So you can go to ide1.com. You don't even need to log in or anything. You can change the language, and they give us then the basics. And have a look, system class is imported. That means the string and other classes in the system namespace would be available to me. Okay, I've entered now the statements to define two variables, to assign a name to full name. I've just called the remove method, and over the two statements to display full name as well as name. And I chose the remove method that we had to look at just now. So if I look at the input Sue.long, then the indexes of the characters would be as follows. Sue will take up position 0, 1, and 2. The space would be position 3. From position 1 to 11, I am going to get the surname. So if I do something like that, I can type in the data and then choose the run button. I don't get any input. Over here I've got the output. First the full name, and can you see it stayed exactly as it was. Full name dot remove didn't change the original. This is what is meant with strings are immutable. The original string isn't changed. This method returns a copy, and that changed string is saved in name. And if I go display name right at the end, have a look, the MO is gone, because that's exactly what the remove method was asked to do. Remove from index 4 two characters for me. So these two characters were removed. The result was saved in name, and this result is displayed secondly. So if I want to display something at the command line in VB, system.console.writeLine, and I will display whatever I want to. Console-based applications are really, really nice if you just need to know a few things regarding a language. You want to test a statement, see how the remove method works, see how anything like that works. So you guys can now go and have a look at all these methods. You need to go and see what the purpose of the method would be, what parameters the method needs, and exactly what data it would return. Substring, to lower to upper, replace, remove, index of, contains, These would be the main methods that you're going to use, but we're going to find quite a few of them later on. I always say that if you know how to read the documentation, if you know what you're doing, you can look through this list of methods available. There's many of them, but you'd be able to find the method that you need and then use it. So the only thing left is a little bit of logic. Let's go back to this program. Let's say I want to now separate the name and the surname. I want to save it in two separate fields. What will I need to do? Not just type any statements. I will again do my planning nice and properly. And I'm just going to have a look at the statements over here. So declare the variables as always. Step number 2, I'm going to get the full name. Step number 3, if I want to separate the name and the full name, then normally, and let's say we're always going to work with this for now, they would be separated by a space. So find the position of this space. And then I very well know the name would be position 0, 2, just before the space. That's where the name would be stored. Let's just maybe put this on a separate line. And then the surname would be from position space plus 1 to the end. Okay. And then I can go and display the name of the surname. So if I will to look at some test data, then Sue with long will be name is Sue and the surname would be Motlong. I can't just work with one specific instance. So if I've got Elizabeth Nku, then the name will be Elizabeth and the surname will be Nku. Hey? Let's just capitalize that. We need at least 3 different sets of data, so I can specify over here the full name would be that and the full name will be that. I can enter this on different lines. And let's go for one last surname. We gave the men a chance, so let's go for John McQuena. So that makes the name John and the surname McQuena. Okay, I've got some test data and I've got some variables. So I very much like to normally do this. Take that. I just need to go to click on edit to be able to edit my data, my program again. Before a method, tell me what is the steps you're going to follow. This editor is not as fancy as the Visual Studio environment that you might be used to, but it pretty much can do its job perfectly fine. So which variables will I need? Full name, name, and surname. Let's start with zoom it long. We're going to have a look at input data a little bit later. I don't want the remove method now. I need to find the position of the space. So if I can go and have a look at the different methods available, let's maybe go to a slightly shorter list. If I go to the list of methods in tutorials point, then have a look. There's one method, index of. I'm going to use the one that takes a string and it returns a zero-based index of the first occurrence of the specified string in this instance. You can also use character, but for beginners, strings might just be a little bit easier. So if I go back to my program, I need the position of the string, so I'll need a variable position of the space as integer. I will need a statement to go and display the surname. Let's make this nice and user friendly. So name, surname, and let's have full name. We'll go and there we've got that, and we can concatenate the stuff. So full name is displayed there, the name would be displayed, and the surname would be displayed. And here I'm by accident using Java, so let's go and swap and use the concatenation character for VB. If you know a few languages, you very often get a little bit confused between the ones, but syntax highlighting, unfortunately it's not available here in the online IDE. That's gonna help me. So I've got the name, I'm just going to assign it for now. Find the position of the space, so I've got position of the space in full name dot, what was the method called? Index of. And VB is not case sensitive, so give me the index of that space. So now the name will be at position 0 to just before the space. And again, I need to go and find a method to use. So remember, you should now go and have a look through this whole list of methods, know what should be available more or less. There's a method called split. No, I'm not going to use split. Substring. Now see, this is now the thing with the list of the short list of methods. I am interested in the full list of methods. So if I go back to the methods available, all the methods in the string class, scroll quite a bit down. This is an alphabetical list, so I need to go down, down, down. Over here I've got two substring methods. One that takes one number, retrieves the substring from this instance. The substring starts at the specified character and continues to the end, or then starts at the specified character and has got a specific length. Okay, so I definitely don't want, if I want the name, start from a point and then go onwards to the end. I will need to use this substring method. If I go have a look at the name, let's do this again. I think I deleted it. Work with this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11. Okay, so I know the space would be at position 3. And guess what? By accident, this space also tells me how long is the name, because the name starts at the 0th position. So, if I've got Sue Mutlong, or I've got Elizabeth, I think it was Nku, 12, 11, 12, 13. Hey, the space is at position 9, and let's go and count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 characters. So I can use the position as the space as the number of characters in this specific program. Doesn't that necessarily always would be the case? So full name dot substring, I think it's like that. Start at position 0, go up to the position of the space. Otherwise, I would need to do a little bit of mathematics, eh? If I didn't have that available. There, I've got it spelled right. So the surname would be full name dot substring, and I can start where position of the space plus 1 character up to the end. So I only need 1 parameter over there. Okay, so if I were to run the program, click here on IDE 1. I've got full name is Sue, name and the surname. And if I change this now to my other data, so I'll need to go and I don't worry about the editing right now. So my other name was Elizabeth Nku. If I were to run this again, this is just the only thing. They keep the old data and the new output of the program goes over there. That's fine. I can clearly delete it if I want to. The last name was John. Mkwena. Just need to remember what I used. Okay, and there I've got it. So now your task would be the following. This VB statements I showed you, just as a added extra, a bonus. I'm actually interested in these steps. What would be the steps that you're going to follow, and whether you use a GUI program or the console-based program is really no big thing, because this get the surname in a GUI program, you're just going to get it from a text box, and you're going to display the name and the surname in labels. And if we're writing a console program, I'll show you how to get the data from the standard input as well. And again, I showed you how to display stuff. So if I want to read some input, I need to do the following. In the IDE environment, they allow me to specify some input and see the output. So in input, I can specify the name that I want to enter, Sue Makeba. Let's go for just a different name so that you see I actually are able to use the things that we need to. So now obviously I won't assign the name. I start with console again, and now there's a method called readLine. Same as what we've got a write line, I've got a read line. And on my input, I've specified Sue. Output, we can clear that, delete everything, and if I run the program now, it reads, it does this job, and now it displays to me the name and the surname. Okay, so the get the input part, it's really just depends on the program that you want. I'm interested in programming logic. Again, really at these steps. What are you going to do in order to solve the problem? If we now go to the Vutela site, okay, I went to the Vutela site for our course, signed in as a student. If we go to assignments and programming assignments, then I sort of helped you a little bit with program 1. There's a program 2, a program 3, a program 4, 5, a program 6, and I might add some more programs a little bit later. But these first 6 programs would keep you busy. So first of all, you're going to go and sit down and go have a look at the methods available in the stream class. Thereafter, you're going to go through these programs. For each one of them, write down the steps. This I just did in Notepad, but we can do it in Word as well. We need to go and think, what are the variables that I'm going to use? I just entered the test data like this. It's perfectly fine. So 3 sets of test data. So what would be the input and what is the required output of my program each time around? And these things are real necessary. I can go and refine these steps to specify how I would find the different statements. So find the position of the space. Position of the space would be the full name dot index of. I need a space, and this statement would sort of look exactly the same in Java and other languages as well. If I want the statement to define how would the statement look to give me the name, so name would be full name dot substring from position 0 up to the end of the name, which is indicated by position of the space, and then the surname would be the full name. Start at the position of the space plus 1. Hey, why position of the space plus 1? This is the space. Oh, sorry. So just after that, we find the surname. Okay, there's lots of fun for you guys. So spend some time. You are going to take a bit of time to go through these statements, but it's a necessary thing to start learning how to do some programming. So you need the what steps you're going to follow and the input and the output data. Over here, examples are given. For some of the other programs, no examples given. You need to determine your own input, data, and results that necessary. Thank you.